Hello everyone and welcome to my recap and thoughts of episode 2 of the new Netflix Korean drama Mystic Pop-up Bar. Just to recap, at the end of episode 1, Wol-Ju, who I'm going to call WJ, finds out that her extension for staying on the mortal plane to help the 100,000 souls has been reduced to 1 month, and realized that Han Kang-Bae, who I'm going to call HKB, can help her since for some reason when people touch him, they want to tell him what's on their mind, and it's whether he wants them to tell him or not. This is apparently because for some reason his spiritual vision is unlocked, which we don't know why, but he thinks that WJ can possibly help, so they end up both needing something from one another and meeting up at the bridge at the end of episode 1 to ask one another for a favor, basically. So with that, let's get into what happens in episode 2. In episode 2, we see WJ trying to get HKB to sign a 1-month contract where he will touch 9 people while working part-time at the bar and help her grant their wishes by getting them to tell him what's on their mind. HKB gets a sample dream of him being able to date and kiss a girl, and WJ uses this to convince him that if he works for her, she can help. After reading the contract and the fine print where it says his powers may be increased, and it could be that all people have to do is look at him instead of touch him, and they will end up sharing their feelings with him, HKB says no dice. WJ tries to convince him that it's not a big deal and, it's not going to happen at all, and just to sign the contract. But because this would make HKB's life even worse and Manager Gui doesn't help the situation, HKB's like, I'm not signing the contract. We also find out in this scene that since WJ and the manager are spirits, they aren't affected by his touch like live people are. He tries touching them to get the real answer regarding the contract and the possible risks, and they don't react at all when they explain to him, yeah, it's because we're spirits, bro. WJ, determined to get him to sign the contract, visits him at the grocery store the next day with Manager Gui, bringing him and his co-workers lunch, and she tells them why she wants him to work for her at the bar part-time at night, which the way that she describes it kind of seems like she wants him to work at a host bar, since she also says that he has the perfect physical trait. I don't know if she is purposefully wording it that way or if she's just trying to kind of weasel her way around why she needs him to work at the bar part-time, but either way, it definitely causes a misunderstanding between him and his co-workers at the grocery store. HKB pulls WJ to the side, telling her that he can't risk his affliction getting stronger, and tells her no again to signing the contract. Even though WJ says she can help him after the contract is done, he just can't risk it. We find out later in the episode that another reason he doesn't want to sign the contract is because he's afraid he actually isn't going to be able to help her or get 9 people to confess and do all that within a month. WJ obviously doesn't like his answer, as you would expect, and stays at the grocery store, deciding to scare him into saying yes. As a big crowd of ladies are heading to a sale that has just been announced in the store, WJ throws him into the crowd, which causes all of the women to touch him and thus tell him what's bothering them and on their mind. He's then attempting to run away and hide from these women in the grocery store, and WJ uses this opportunity to ask him again, like, what could be worse than this, bro? And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. Let's talk about this again. He agrees to a trial run of 1 person to see if he can actually do it, and if that works, he'll then sign the contract. That evening, while HKB is working his first day at the bar, his landlady and daughter come to eat there. We met the landlady earlier in the episode and find out that her daughter is getting married soon on May 9th on her birthday. While they're chatting, WJ notices that the landlady is secretly coughing up blood, and obviously there's something that she's holding back and inside. And after her daughter suddenly has to leave, WJ tells HKB to touch her to get her to tell him what's going on. We find out that her daughter isn't actually her daughter. and that when the landlady was a young widow, she had fallen in love with a guy who had come to her restaurant named Ko Dong-gi, but he ends up liking Lee Sun-hwa, who works for the landlady when she owned the fish restaurant. Before she finds this out, she and Lee Sun-hwa, who I'm going to call LSH, are very close. But after she finds out that she's pregnant by the guy she likes and that they're getting married, the landlady just becomes full of rage and just doesn't want anything to do with her, like secretly hates her. After the baby is born, the baby daddy comes to the restaurant to bring the landlady some stuff and to thank her for taking such good care of LSH. The landlady, drunk and still angry about feeling dumped by him, tells him that LSH isn't actually as innocent as she seems and that the baby probably isn't his, since before they got married, he had been working as a truck driver and their relationship had been long distance most of the time. She whispers to him some rumors about LSH, which are obviously lies, and he goes home to confront her about them. The landlady, later realizing what she'd done was totally wrong, does try to go and tell him the truth, but it's too late. We see him driving off and LSH running outside in her PJs after him, and the landlady witnesses LSH suddenly getting hit by a car and dying. And because of this, she ends up adopting her baby and raising her as her own, like she had promised she would before the guy had come into the picture and they had been friends. The landlady says that her wish is to find her real father before her wedding and make things right. But she hasn't been able to find him, and she doesn't have a lot of time left because she's also dying from lung cancer and does not have a lot of time. Her daughter doesn't know about the cancer or that the landlady isn't her mother, and obviously she's conflicted by this. Instead of feeling sad for the landlady or wanting to help, WJ thinks she deserves to die and go to hell for what she did. She's obviously thinking of her own past experiences regarding rumors and what can happen due to them, and has no sympathy for the landlady's story or the fact that she's been trying to do the right thing ever since and make amends, and WJ says that she won't help her. HKB feels this isn't right and wants to help, even though WJ doesn't, and ends up going back to the pop-up bar later in the episode and stealing some of the magic alcohol, putting it in a water bottle and taking it with him home to hopefully help the landlady. Before he can, though, he finds her collapsed outside of the apartment and obviously calls an ambulance. HKB stays with her daughter at the hospital where her mother is being treated, and this is when her daughter finds out about the cancer. While there, HKB gets a call from WJ asking if he had taken some of the magical alcohol and warns him not to drink it under any circumstances because it's super dangerous. He says he won't, but it's actually too late because the landlady's daughter goes to drink it thinking it's water. When he goes to try and wake her up, i.e. touch her, he immediately gets sucked into her dream. WJ gets to the hospital and finds the daughter and HKB passed out, so she ends up going into the daughter's dream as well to get HKB. There, they end up staying and seeing the daughter's memories of being raised by the landlady, which are full of her being protected, loved, cared for, just a really good childhood. You can see that WJ is getting swayed by this a little bit, but she is stubborn. So HKB says that if she helps the landlady with her wish, he'll sign the contract. WJ agrees, but isn't actually able to help the landlady while she's alive because she passes away in the hospital shortly after. But WJ does talk to the death agency worker who's there to collect the landlady's spirit and convinces him to let her stay until the funeral so that WJ can help the landlady with her unfinished business and keep her from wandering the earth. After this, they work on locating her daughter's father, and when they find him, they find out that he has no memories of his past since he had tried to kill himself, and for some reason due to this, he only has memories up to the point from when he tried to do that. They end up going into his mind to retrieve the memories, which were some pretty cool scenes, and after some pretty scary moments involving a locked door deep in the man's subconscious, they are able to unlock his memories, and he remembers about his daughter and late wife. We then see him talking to his daughter at her mother's funeral and showing the photo of her real mother and him and the landlady when they were younger. In the photo, the landlady is wearing makeup, which her daughter mentions she couldn't wear makeup because she was allergic to it. Her father says it might have been just another way that she was atoning for what happened, kind of, taking care of the daughter, I'm never gonna wear makeup again, that sort of thing. We then see her daughter mourning her mother and feeling bad for how she had treated her, being embarrassed by her mother never wearing makeup when she was young, and also just thanking her for raising her and being such a good mother. Basically, she doesn't feel betrayed, but loved even more for the sacrifices that the landlady made while alive and raising her as her own daughter. After this, the landlady is taken up to what I think is heaven, and we see LSH is there waiting for her. The landlady breaks down crying, telling her how sorry she is for everything that happened, and LSH forgives her and thanks her for taking such good care of her daughter. After this, we see HKB is shooting hoops by himself, and Manager Gui goes and joins him. And they play a real game of basketball, which HKB has never been able to do before since it involves physical contact. After this, the manager gives him a little pep talk about how HKB needs to live his life and not fear failing, and how after this whole situation, how they made such a good team. This makes HKB happy since he hasn't really been able to be part of a team before, and goes to sign the contract, finally. He also promises never to steal the magical alcohol again, which is called Sung-jae, and this is also when we find out why WJ has to help exactly 100,000 people. And it's apparently because she killed 100,000 people. When she hanged herself from the spirit tree, she gave the tree a ton of bad luck, which led to the country the tree was protecting to be attacked, and 100,000 people died in the fight. The god of the underworld tells her that her penance is to go back and live amongst the people and help them with their troubles and grant their wishes. WJ wants nothing to do with this and tells the god of the underworld she'd rather go to hell than help another human ever again. The god of the underworld tells her that the death of 100,000 people isn't the only thing she needs to pay penance for, and throws her the scroll that the god of the underworld had been reading from. As WJ reads the scroll, we see her transform into the WJ we recognize in the series, and says that she'll do what the god of the underworld wants her to. Not sure what the scroll says, but apparently it's something that she feels she does need to pay penance for. The 100,000 people that died, she doesn't really care about, but whatever else is on there is what matters to her. My guess is that it has something to do with her mother, but we'll just have to wait and see. With that ends episode 2 and my recap of the Mystic Pop-up Bar. And this episode definitely had me crying along with the characters, which is always a good sign to me that the drama is gonna be a good one. It's sometimes the crying can be a lot and you aren't emotionally invested, but I am immediately invested in these characters. I'm also really enjoying the comedic moments as well as the dramatic scenes, like when they went into the father's subconscious to retrieve his memories. I thought the way they visually showed them going deeper and deeper into his subconscious and then trying to guess the combo to the locked door was really, really cool. And it gave us a bit of danger in the mix as well, because if they fell, their souls and ego would be lost in the darkness forever, which that's pretty freaking terrifying. The actor playing HKB seems so sweet, and I can't wait to see more of him, and obviously he's gonna cause havoc at that bar, since that's going to happen, and I just can't wait to see what's in store next. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more recap videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Since she also says that he has the perfect physical strength. And also just thanking, hello fire truck. He also promises never to steal the magical alcohol again, which is called Sung-Gam-ju, I think.